Are you ready? Are you ready for the comeback? Yeah.
Hi everyone, Peter Liciaga here. Welcome to day 5 of our Living Strong Challenge, living a strong life, right? And hey guys, Friday, day 5. I'm very, very, very excited to bring this with you. Now, yesterday we spoke about quieting that monkey mind and making that a priority, making sure we stay focused on the task at hand. And if you didn't watch that video, make sure you go watch that video and hear about that monkey and how to keep that monkey occupied and keep the monkey occupied with the curly hair. Anyway, I just thought that was fun. And we also spoke about your A game, when it comes to really managing those thoughts, that self-talk, that chatter in your mind, that crazy monkey in your mind, that you use your A game, which means awareness and acceptance, and then just choosing a powerful action to keep you focused on task. And we talked about mindfulness and meditation, and then of course you had your challenge for yesterday, your assignment for yesterday. So I hope you got a chance to do that. If not, then make sure you go ahead and do that. It's very beneficial. So today we're going to talk about optimizing your reading, optimized reading. And I will refer to my book, Living a Strong Life, and I'll have the link right below. If you haven't gotten it already, go ahead and get that. So I'll be tapping on this and my notes. Like I do every day. I take my notes from my journal and I type it out. This way it's easy for me to follow along and keep you guys on task. So a couple things we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how we read. Then we're going to talk about some key concepts, and I'm going to give you some tips and suggestions. And then we'll go ahead and wrap it up by letting you guys know what your assignment is. And of course, there's a bonus, right? So whatever you learned today, whatever takeaways you have today, any aha moments you have today, I want you to share that with me. You can share it on Facebook or Instagram, and make sure you tag me. Okay, so that's going to be the bonus later on today. So we'll come to that. So the first thing, let's go ahead and talk about how we read. Now, there's an article I went deep dive into that over the last couple of days, and most definitely early this morning when I got up, that was my key thing preparing for today's challenge. For this recording, I did a deep dive on optimizing reading and how we read. So there is an article, and the link will be right below. And the article is entitled, What Happens in the Brain While We Read? And mention things like the temporal lobe and the frontal lobe, and then the morphological recognition, all these different kinds of science stuff there, things that go on in the brain. Some of you guys probably understand some of the things that I just mentioned. But if you want to go deep dive into that and what happens in the brain while you read, see the link right below. Other than that, I'm just going to quickly go through some things here for the sake of time, and then give you some key concepts and some tips and suggestions, and give you your assignment for the day. Now, first of all, there's this idea of speed reading. I know some of my friends they just love reading, and they love the idea of getting through books or getting through literature, reading fast, speed reading. And so they can say, hey, I read X amount of books in X amount of time. Whoop, whoop. I think it's a pretty awesome, flex. But my consideration, my whole goal when I read is to comprehend. So there's that speed and then comprehension. Now, you can speed read, but you want to make sure you comprehend what you are reading, and making sure that you understand it, and that you're able to understand it enough where you can actually apply it to your life. That's my intention. My intention when I read is to comprehend what I'm reading, so I can gain knowledge and understanding and be empowered by that. Then I can apply it in a very practical way to my life, so I can live that strong life and be empowered, and then share that knowledge with others. And so my note here is speed versus comprehension. go for comprehension. Speed is a great flex that you can do, but comprehension is where the power is, the real power is. And so I wrote a note here also. It says productive. It's got to be productive. So retaining the essence of what you're reading and then internalizing that, comprehending it and that essence and of what you're reading, so that you can then apply it in that practical way and be productive in your life, so that you can see the benefits of it as you live that strong life. Also committing, really taking that level of commitment to that comprehension, and that really taking it in and understanding it in that deep way. It's so important. And so you want to connect with what you're reading, not just going through the words. And so there's a couple of key concepts that I picked up that I want to share with you, and it comes from the sides of it. And so when you read that article that I refer, and the link is right below, and the article says what happens in the brain while you read, click that link below, go deeper into that. But here's some key concepts. One thing is phobia. Phobia, is responsible. This idea of phobia is where it's responsible for that focal point. You stay focused on one fixed thing, and we have this science. We have this ability to focus at one thing here. Peripheral vision is like this, right? Peripheral, we have this view, a soft view of everything. I can look directly at you through the camera, and I can still see what's going on around it peripherally. But I want to focus and be fixed on you. And I do that when I'm talking to someone or when I'm reading, okay? And they call that phobia. Phobia is responsible, I'm reading right from the definition. Phobia is responsible for sharp central vision, also called foveal vision. And that's necessary for us for activities where we have to look at the details of everything. And it's so important, especially in reading or like driving, right? So we have to activate the foveal, so that we can have fixed points on where we're going with that peripheral, but we're fixed on where we're going focal, but we also utilize the peripheral. But key concept here when you're reading is to be fixed on it. And then so when you fixed on a couple of words, like for example, let me get my book for a second, and on this page here, on page 51, I talk about the healing power of gratitude and purpose. And so if I'm reading this and I get fixed, I'm applying this concept, the science of foveal, this fixed focus, I would read the healing power. So the healing power, so I'm fixed on that. And then I'll go to the next phrase of gratitude and purpose. So there's two groups of words that I'm fixated on, the foveal and the healing power of gratitude and purpose. And if I continue reading, so those are two fixed points, right? And then another key concept is what they call the saccade. The saccade is that space of time. It says over here is that movement between with your eyes from that fixed point to the next fixed point, and what they call saccade. Okay, so you have this fovea, then you have the saccade. So fovea is that fix. You're fixed on those couple of words. And then the saccade is that when your eyes move to the next fixed point. And so when you read, you're actually you're not reading a little flow thing like this. Okay, you're reading a group of words, okay, and you fix on that. Then you move to the next group of words, then the next group of words. So that's what you're doing. So you have that fovea going on, and then the saccade, moving to the next thing. So those are two key concepts that you want to keep mindful of. So if I were to read, let's say the rest of that was just the chapter heading. If I were to read, throughout my journey, I have faced numerous challenges, heartaches, and adversities. And so there's that phobia that's happening, and then the saccade. So throughout my journey, I have faced numerous challenges, heartaches, and adversities. And so I'm fixed on those certain points, and I'm comprehending that, and then I move to the next one. And then I fix on that, I comprehend that, I move to the next one. So it's a phobia, and the saccade. Fovea, saccade to the next fovea, saccade to the next fovea. So we're doing fovea and saccade, saccading as we fovea. That's funny. But anyway, the idea, the concept there is to know that when you're reading, this is why speed reading is not going to be useful if your goal and your intention is to comprehend what you're reading and take it, go to the idea of what you're reading and then take it in, understand it, and then move forward. So those are two key concepts that you want to keep in mind as you're reading, right? Fixed, and then quickly move to the next fixed point. And so another key concept is what they call, and make sure you have it here, what they call sub-vocalization. And sub-vocalization, and I didn't know, this is one of my big aha moments from doing deep dive in reading and what happens in reading. If I want to optimize my reading, for me, optimizing is comprehension. Understanding it so I can practically apply what I comprehend to my life is sub-vocalization. And this is this little guttural thing. It's almost like you're talking to yourself or reading to yourself, but you do it in a way that's like almost like a mumble kind of thing. So I might say, okay, look, the healing power of gratitude and purpose. The healing power of gratitude and purpose. Healing. So it's almost like I'm talking to myself. Maybe I'm even reading it to myself. You know, especially if I'm by myself, I might do that. Okay, throughout my journey, I have faced numerous challenges. Okay, gratitude has been, and so I'm like almost talking to myself. What they're calling sub-vocalization, okay? And this is you talking to yourself, mumbling, okay? I hope that makes sense because that helps you really internalize what you're reading. So you have this fovea happening, and then you have this, you're moving to the saccade that's happening where you jumping to the next spot, and then you maybe also adding some sub-vocalization to it because your goal is to comprehend, understand in a deep way what you're saying. So now how does your brain, again, I'm going through this really, really quickly. You want to go deep into this, click the link below to go a deeper dive and do a search on that. But for the sake of time, just want to get this to you quickly. So you have the fovea, you have the saccade, then you have sub-vocalization, and then the next thing, if you want to really comprehend, you're going to do what they call grouping, and it's what they call also chunking. So you're going to take this chunk of information that you've read, you're going to do your best to understand it and remember it, and you're going to take it from this your temporary memory and put it into your permanent memory. And you do that by chunking it. Okay, like for example, I could read this part of the chapter, okay, and I might chunk it in my mind. I say the healing power of gratitude and purpose. So I'm gonna take that chunk and put it in my memory. You know, the healing power of gratitude and purpose, and it's all about, you know, going through a journey and facing numerous obstacles and challenges and heartaches and ups and downs, but then getting it through and then learning powerful lessons from that. So I get this chunk of information that I've read here, and it goes on to say these powerful forces, these powerful lessons that I learned helped me heal and grow, gratitude and purpose. So I take this chunk of information and, you know, I go back to it, or maybe I do this sub-verbalization. Okay, really healing, purpose through gratitude and purpose, healing, moving forward, these two things. So I'll take that chunk of information and I do all that I can to put it into my permanent memory. This way, it's a couple of days later, weeks later, maybe even months later, that I have that information, that chunk of information that I learned from this book that I can recall. So optimizing my reading. So those are a couple of the concepts and key steps. And I only took 4. Again, read, go deep into it if you're interested in it, especially those of you that are readers, you enjoy reading, or if you are someone maybe like I was someone that really didn't like reading, I thought. However, I reflect back on my life, I really did appreciate knowledge. I remember going to the library, getting books and going through books, or the magazine racks. Back in the day when I was young and they had magazine stands, newspaper stands. I remember going through the magazines and just looking at the information that's in there and reading it. So I came to realize that, gosh, I love reading, especially now when I can read, get knowledge, get understanding, And then I want to optimize that, my reading. And here's what I found out going a deep dive and optimize my reading, what I want to share with you guys today on day 5. Okay. And so the key concepts, right? There's 4 of them that I put here: the fovea, the saccade, and then we have our subvocalization, and then we also have our chunking. So those are the 4 key concepts I wanted to share with you guys today. Now let's talk about some tips, and the tips are basically ties into that, right? First of all, you're going to choose a book. Okay, whatever book you choose. And if you ever read my book, get that. I have a couple of other books that I've suggested. We have Jocko Willink's Extreme Ownership. We also had yesterday, I mentioned a book from Jennifer Shannon that has talks about the monkey mind. You can that or get a book that that's interesting for you, that empowers you, so that you can do it practice your optimized reading. And so what you're going to do, the first one is you're going to choose a book. Okay, and start with my book. Okay, I have a little plug there. So, and the link is right below. And then the first thing you're going to do, let me put this right over. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to the chapter. The first tip is you go to not the chapter, but the contents. Okay, you go to the contents, and you go to the table of contents, and you go through it, and you might look at some things that are interesting for you in the table of contents. Like, for example, my book, Living a Strong Life, Lessons that I Learned. And so you might go through that and say, look, okay, the introduction, Living a Strong Life. Chapter 1 is Surviving the Streets, and Chapter 2 is A Martial Arts Journey. And then you go through that and say, well, you know what? Yeah, I'm interested in hearing about Peter surviving the streets. So I want to go through that. You go right to that chapter. Okay, and then when you get to the chapter, and then what you're going to do is you're going to focus on the reading. You're going to use those concepts, right? Those key concepts, the fovea, then the saccade. You're going to fixate on the key points, and you're going to quickly move to the next one, the saccade. So you're going to saccade your fovea, and then you're going to use that subverbalization, right? You're going to talk to yourself and work on that. Some key things. You're going to have a pen. You're going to have a pen, and you're going to mark off, highlight key things, and then you're going to ask yourself, what are some of the key chunks in there? How would you chunk it down? What are some key things in there? And then you write those little chunks down, and then you're going to, as a bonus, right, you're going to share it with someone. So I think for me, one of the added things for me to help learn this, which is why I'm doing this, is that I want to understand. I learned about optimized reading and some key concepts and some tips and suggestions that I took upon myself that I'm sharing with you, and then I'm teaching it, I'm sharing it, and that helps me retain this. So I understand. So the fovea, which I first heard of yesterday in my deep dive, and saccade, first heard of in my deep dive yesterday, the verbalization, vocalization, I just heard about. It was the biggest aha moment yesterday. And then chunking, the value of chunking information so I can help remember it. All this stuff. So now I'm sharing it with you, teaching it. And that helps me really retain it and really get the essence of what I'm learning when it comes to optimized reading. Okay, so let's talk about your assignment. Your assignment is basically to do that. Your assignment, where am I? Right over here. Your assignment is to do all that, is to choose that book, right? Is to review the table of contents, to choose a chapter that resonates with you, and then use your focus on the reading and the purpose in a purposeful way, using fovea, using saccade, using a subverbalization, vocalization, and using chunking. And then you're going to ask yourself, what are the key chunks? Write that down, and then share that. As a bonus, share that on Facebook or Instagram, what you learned, those key things you learned in the book. List the book and share the chunk, maybe 1 or 2 different pieces of information that you learned as a chunk, and then tag me. Okay, you do it on Facebook or Instagram. Okay, that's what we got for you today. Hope that makes sense. Okay, other than that, guys, have an amazing day. I'll see you guys tomorrow on day 6. All right, talk to you later. Bye.